I visited an abandoned resort at 3 a.m. You won't believe what happened next. The clock struck 3, and the night seemed to hold its breath. At that hour, darkness wrapped the deserted grounds of the old Summerhaven resort like a heavy fog, hiding secrets that echoed through the chill air. The cracked windows, once brimming with laughter, now gaped like hollow eyes, their frames splintered and crying for attention. You could practically hear whispers in the wind, calling out mysteries that had long been buried. There was something electric about the atmosphere, an unexplainable pulse that made the hairs on my arms stand on end. I felt a strange tug, pulling me closer to the once glamorous pool area, where tiles lay missing and shadows danced with sinister glee in the moonlight. Wet leaves crunched underfoot as I approached, and the silence deepened, cloaking my heart in apprehension. What was I really looking for? Adventure? Thrills? Or was it something darker? A deep howl broke the stillness, rattling my chest. It wasn't just the wind playing tricks. I glanced behind me, half expecting to see someone standing there, watching. Nothing but the stillness hung thickly around me. The tall, swaying trees seemed to lean in and listen, their thick trunks shrouded with age-old mystery. As I trudged further, the air grew heavy and cold, wrapping me in a bone-chilling embrace. Then, there was a flicker of movement in the corner of my eye. My heart skipped a beat. A figure? Or was it just a shadow? I blinked hard and leaned closer, straining to see in the darkness. It felt like adrenaline racing through my veins. The tension was unbearable, the world around me faded, and I could only focus on the distance where that shadow lurked. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The shadows became restless, dancing like they were alive. I could feel cool air rushing past my ears, and every instinct in my body fought against the urge to run. Suddenly, a soft rustle came from behind the pool's crumbling tiles. My pulse raced as I turned slowly, eyes widening. Was it just my imagination, or was something really there? In that moment, I realized I wasn't alone. The shadows weren't merely playing tricks, they were hiding something, or someone. My breath caught in my throat as I took a step back, uncertainty consuming me. But just as quickly as it began, the dread was interrupted by a loud crash. A door somewhere in the resort slammed shut, breaking the silence in a way that sent chills down my spine. What had just stirred awake, and in that silence again, my question hung in the air: what secrets did Summerhaven really hold? The echo of the slamming door reverberated through the darkness like a warning bell. Time seemed to freeze as I stood there, rooted in place. My heart thudded wildly, drowning out the silence that now felt suffocating. With a deep breath, I strained my ears to listen. The rustling had stopped. Had it been my imagination? Anxiety coiled tight in my chest as I glanced toward the direction of the noise. It came from inside the main building, a structure that loomed ominously against the starless sky. Should I investigate or run like hell? Every instinct screamed at me to turn back, to escape the sickly grip of fear that crept along my spine. But then, curiosity clawed at me. What if it was just some animal, or maybe someone else was here, looking for the same thrill I sought? Spurred by adrenaline, I moved toward the entrance, carefully navigating over broken concrete and debris, every step echoing my rising dread. The doorway stood ajar, an invitation veiled in shadows. Inside, the air was thick with dust and age, enveloping me like a damp blanket. My footsteps crunched on glass-strewn floors. It felt as if the walls were closing in, carrying whispers of past guests long gone. This was a bad idea, I muttered to myself, but it was too late to back out now that a faint glow flickered somewhere deeper in the interior. My pulse quickened. Was someone inside? I crept forward, heart in my throat, as I followed the light. It flickered again, soft, rhythmic, and almost hypnotic. Each flicker turned my chilling anticipation into an unbearable thrill. Turning a corner, I came upon the old lounge area, and gasped. A gnarled tree branch stretched through the collapsed roof, wrapping around the remnants of a broken chandelier. And there, dancing in the half-light, was an old music box, just sitting there, innocently spinning, but the music. It didn't sound right. It twisted and warbled as if it had been played by a child's hand long lost to time, warped by sadness. Suddenly, the shadow from outside flitted by again, too real now. A figure moved past a broken window, quick and fleeting. I spun around, eyes wide. My breath quickened. Someone was watching me, I could feel it. "Hello?" I called out, my voice echoing back like a curse. The air grew oppressive around me, as if the darkness itself absorbed sound. Then came the unmistakable sound of footsteps. Hard and uneven. They grew louder, and the icy tendrils of fear wrapped tightly around my chest. Drawing closer, I could see the breath of whatever lurked in that night. Hitches in those steps could mean anything. An intruder? Or something much worse? "Who's there?" My words trembled, like leaves in a storm. Nothing answered, just the deepening silence. Instinct kicked in, telling me to run. I took a step back but tripped over a loose floorboard, crashing to the ground. The music box spun wildly, and for a moment, it felt like time warped around me, and just when I thought I had seen everything, as I regained my footing, I caught a glimpse into a side room one I hadn't noticed before. The door was slightly cracked, and shadows writhed inside like angry spirits. What had I stumbled into? Before I could think twice, I felt the icy grip of dread seep through my bones, and I pushed the door slowly, an overwhelming urge to see what lay beyond pulling at me. As the door creaked wider, a whisper flickered through the air, resonating in my very soul. "Come find me." My heart raced, and as I crossed the threshold into the unknown, the room darkened, shadows pooling like a living entity just waiting for someone, anyone. What awaited me behind the door? What lay in the restless quiet of that cursed resort? And just as I felt the electrifying pulse of danger grow, the lights went out completely. What secrets would I unearth next? The darkness engulfed me, thick as fog. My breath quickened, each exhale a muted panic ringing futile in the void. The music box had fallen silent, leaving only the sound of my heart pounding against the silence, louder than any ghostly whisper. For a moment, I stood frozen, wrapped in the shadows, teetering on the edge of fear. Then, sensing the impending weight of unseen eyes, I stumbled forward into the pitch. I reached out, fingertips brushing against the cold, crumbling walls, as if the mere touch could guide me through the obscurity. With each cautious step, I strained to make out shapes, anything that could reveal what lay within this forsaken room. My hands found a doorway, a narrow opening leading to another chamber, heavy with rancid air. There was no turning back now. Curiosity and dread tugged at my very being. I crossed into the next room and instantly felt an eerie chill that struck at my bones. Shadows swirled, and I could swear I felt something brush against my arm, like a light caress from invisible fingers. Every hair on my body stood at attention, igniting panic. I had to find light, something to break this darkness that felt alive, mocking my inquisitiveness. Fumbling through the inky blackness, I kicked something, a hollow thud, against the floor. Kneeling, my hands found an old flashlight, covered in dust and debris. I twisted the cap, praying the batteries weren't dead. As I clicked on the switch, a weak beam illuminated a corner of the room, revealing bizarre remnants of a past long forgotten, torn curtains hanging by threads, a fractured mirror reflecting my ghostly outline, and a tattered armchair that seemed to breathe with the weight of memory. Suddenly, that whisper slithered back into my mind. "Come find me." The voice was more insistent now, echoing between the walls, wrapping around me like a vine of despair. I had to silence it. I raised the flashlight, aiming it into the churning abyss, praying to break the sound of that beckoning call. Then, a flicker in the light caught my eye. At the far end of the room was a heavy wooden door, one I hadn't noticed before. The wood appeared ancient, aged by time, with silver linings that traced pathways of mystery. A mirror image of the doorway I had just come through, only more sinister. It sat slightly ajar, offering passage into something dark and unknown. Stay away. A thought screamed through my mind. But something within me urged me forward, drawn like a moth to a flame. Little did I realize, that flicker in the darkness held my fate. As I approached, the door creaked louder, as if alive, letting out a long-forgotten sigh. I hesitated, heart a drum, thumping loudly against my chest. What could possibly await me on the other side? Was this the end of my curiosity or merely the beginning of it? With a deep breath, I pushed the door open. The flashlight beam cut through the blackness, piercing through what felt like an impenetrable veil. The room was big and empty, but in its center stood an antique rocking chair, swaying back and forth, as though someone had just left it moments ago. On the floor was a collection of toys, a doll with glassy eyes that seemed to follow me, a rusted toy car, and a small, dusty teddy bear missing one button eye. A chill whispered through the air, wrapping around my throat like a drawn noose, and then, from the corner of my eye, I caught movement. The rocking chair stilled abruptly. My breath caught, and I heard the unmistakable sound of a child's laughter, soft but haunting, reverberating off the walls. Play with me. The walls squeezed tightly around me. In that moment, I realized the danger was never just in the shadows, it was something far more sinister that had been waiting for me to step through that door. As darkness threatened to consume me, I heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps behind me once more, this time closer, soft and uneven, moving hungrily towards me. What was this presence that had been hiding? What horrors would reveal themselves in this cursed place? The crushing silence amplified my panic, leaving me with one terrifying question: would I escape from this hell, or was I destined to join the echoes of the past within these haunted walls? The footsteps drew nearer, each scuff against the floor sending shivers racing down my spine. I spun around, flashlight flickering wildly in my grip, the beam cutting through shadows but revealing nothing. My heart hammered so loud, I thought it might explode. "Who's there?" I called out, the tremor in my voice betraying me. A small giggle echoed back, a high-pitched, innocent laughter that hung in the air, settling deep in my bones like a cold, dark hand. I could almost feel the chill of it, wrapping around my heart. My instincts screamed at me to run, but I was paralyzed, caught in the weight of that laugh. The beam from the flashlight danced across the emptiness of the room. The rocking chair had stilled, yet the unsettling sensation of a presence lingered. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, eyes hidden in the corners, biding their time. Desperate to regain control, I took a step toward the rocking chair. It loomed before me, an unsettling relic of childhood innocence, yet it wore a mask of foreboding. What had transpired in this room? What stories lay trapped within those wooden slats? Play with me. The voice, it was soft and rhythmic, almost like a nursery rhyme, pulling at something deep inside me. I should have turned and fled, yet something kept me rooted in place, like a moth caught in a flame. Behind me, the footsteps paused. A faint rustling filled the air, and the chilling pressure of the room intensified. It was as if the walls were leaning in, each crack and crevice whispering secrets I wasn't meant to know. I swung the flashlight back, illuminating the space again. Every corner lay dormant and dark, but something started moving in the periphery. "Who are you?" I demanded, gripping the flashlight like a weapon. My voice, though shaky, remained defiant. A shadow darted across the room, quick and ghostly. I felt my breath hitch. A flash of something small, a child, disappeared behind a pile of broken toys. My heart raced as I fought the urge to run toward the door. But the laughter swelled again, this time louder, more demanding. "Play with me. Please." I shut my eyes, clenching them tight, trying to block out the fear closing in. What was this place? Who was this child? The innocence in the voice twisted into something grotesque. I had to escape. The air thickened as if the room was alive, transmuting into a prison. Finally, I turned to the door, adrenaline surging through my veins. Just as I bolted for the exit, I felt a cold hand on my ankle. It gripped tightly, a vice-like hold that sent flames of terror surging through my body. I stumbled, crashing to the floor. The beam from my flashlight fell away, leaving me in total darkness. The child's laughter now echoed all around me, intertwining with the shadows, filling the air with a cacophony that sent shards of ice into my soul. "Don't go," it replied, more a hiss than a plea. "You have to stay." I scrambled to pull myself up, my palms grazed raw against the wooden floor, splinters threading into my skin. The sound of giggles swirled around me, mocking my fear, mocking my struggle. Yet I had to escape. With every ounce of strength, I wrenched free from the grasp, bolting toward the door. I nearly tripped over toys strewn carelessly, my breath coming in ragged gasps. What awaited me outside? Was it even safe to leave? The door loomed ahead. My hands were slick with sweat, trembling as I reached for the doorknob. The laughter grew frantic, echoing as if the air itself was weeping, pleading with me to reconsider. As I turned the knob and flung the door wide open, light flooded into the darkness, illuminating the hallway beyond. I burst through, but as I stepped into the brightness, I felt something rush past me, a fleeting figure, just barely seen, that whispered one final chilling line, "Find me." I froze in the doorway and glanced back. The room was empty, but I knew. Whatever was trapped inside was calling for me, a siren song I couldn't ignore. I had to know what had I just unleashed. The hallway stretched out like a dark, insatiable maw, swallowing the slivers of light from behind me. I took a step forward, my breath still hitching in my throat, each footfall echoing in the emptiness. The giggles faded, replaced by a sharp silence, a quiet so profound it felt like the world itself held its breath. "Find me." The words lingered in the air, sharp and taunting, almost playful. I darted down the corridor, my pulse racing, but with every stride, it felt like something drew me back. Was it the call of the child, batting at the edges of my mind, or a force more sinister? Windows, boarded up and dusty, lined the hallway. I made my way cautiously, pulse pounding in my ears, until I reached a door. It was slightly ajar, creaking ever so softly. I'm not sure what compelled me to push it open further, but curiosity stirred within me like a moth drawn to a flame. Inside was another room, furniture draped in sheets like ghosts clinging to memories. Shapes loomed beneath the fabric, hiding what once was. I felt a pang of sorrow slip through my fear. This place had life once, a space filled with laughter and play, now steeped in silence and dust. I stepped inside, the door creaking ominously behind me. A quick glance around revealed old toys, faded pictures on the wall, a reminder of what could have been. My eyes caught the ragged edges of another photograph lying sideways on the floor. I knelt to pick it up, the coolness of the frame sending a jolt through my fingertips. As I turned it over, the world around me seemed to pulse. The image was of a family, smiling parents, and two children, one of whom had a stunning resemblance to the child haunting me. Then, I felt it, a tug at the hem of my shirt. My heart skipped a beat. I whipped around so fast that the photograph slipped from my fingers, clattering to the ground. There it stood again, the silhouette of the child, scarcely visible in the thick shadows. "Will you play with me now?" The innocence in the question was gone, replaced by something darker. Frozen, I realized that the figure's eyes were not those of a child. They glinted with an unearthly glow, hollow and deep. A chill enveloped me as my instincts screamed to flee, but something else held me captive, an unnatural fascination laced with dread. "Don't you want to join us?" The voice cooed again, softer, yet tinged with a sinister edge. There's so much to play with. I wanted to scream, to run, but the doorway had disappeared. My mind raced, grappling with what that could mean. As I stood there, I realized the shadows around me were shifting. They morphed, coming closer, their edges whispering sweetly as if coaxing me to join their game. I took a tentative step back, but something warm touched my foot, and I looked down. A doll, its painted smile eerily familiar, seemed to reach out to me. "Please don't leave." The child's laughter rang out again, but this time it echoed against something far darker, a hint of desperation that clawed at my insides. Just as I felt like I might lose my sanity from the claustrophobia of the darkness pressing in on me, the doorway reappeared, flooding the room with light. Instinct kicked in, and I dashed for it before I could lose my nerve. With every step toward the door, the laughter crescendoed, taking on a feverish pitch that made my skin crawl. "You can't escape. Not until you play." I burst through the door, stumbling into the hallway once more, gasping for breath. But as I steadied myself, I found a new terror waiting. The corridor split off, offering two paths. The first was the way I had come, now pulsating with whispers of the distant laughter. The second loomed darker, a silence promising nothing but shadows. Which way would I go? In that moment, the child's voice pierced the air one more time, echoing in my ears with undeniable urgency. "Find me." My heart raced again. I was running out of time. But what awaited me at the end of either path? Would I dare uncover the truth at any cost? The hallway seemed to warp as I stood there, straddling the edge of fear and a desperate need to find escape. I could hear the child's laughter rippling through the air, almost playful now, yet it churned my stomach like a stone. My gut twisted at the thought of returning to the corridor behind me. Whatever darkness lay ahead, I couldn't shake the weight of that ghostly laughter coaxing me back. I hesitated, weighing my options. Searing urgency whispered in my ear, and instinct pulled me towards the darker path. What sought to hide from the light seemed more alluring. My heart raced, pounding like a drum in my chest. I took a step forward, my foot landing on the cold, cracked floor. Shadows danced around me, their whispers growing louder, a cacophony of voices winding around my consciousness, wrapping themselves tightly like vines, tempting me, urging me to turn back. I could almost hear their secrets curling in the air. Each step down the darker corridor sent my pulse into a frenzy. The air grew colder, and a shiver slithered down my spine. A portrait hung crookedly from the wall, its edges frayed, depicting a family, a father and a mother flanking two children. One smiled brightly, and the other bore a striking resemblance to the apparition that haunted me. I tore my eyes away, unable to withstand the weight of their gaze. "Join us" echoed in the stagnant air, and I winced, slowing my pace as dread filled the silence that followed. I could feel the shadows creeping in tighter around me. As if on cue, the floorboards creaked ominously behind me. Panic clawed at my throat, and I spun around, half expecting to find the child there, clutching a toy or with that unsettling smile plastered across its face. But I found the corridor empty, just shadows pooling like ink against the grainy wood. "Please." The pleading note of the child's voice rang through, a seductive song almost. "Don't leave." It was human and haunting, pulling at something deep within me, wrapping around my heart and squeezing. I retreated, ready to sprint back down the hall, but my foot met an unexpected obstacle, a plush toy lying forgotten, its button eyes glimmering in the dim light. My breath hitched. I knew that doll. The one I had seen earlier in the room, with its cracked smile. It felt too warm, almost alive, and I recoiled, a whirlwind of confusion sweeping over me. "Find us," the voice purred again, but this time, it was different, sour and desperate, like a child grasping for a way out of something that held them captive. I felt the walls close in with every breath, and just as I made another move to escape, the hallway morphed into a vibrant tapestry of images. Flickering memories of laughter, light, and play descended upon me like a storm, then darkness reclaimed the hallway. I was momentarily blinded, disoriented, my hand instinctively reaching for the wall so I wouldn't lose my balance. As the light returned, it brought clarity but with a ghastly twist. Shapes emerged from the shadows, figures that weren't quite right. They swayed like dancers, revolting yet compelling. "Playtime is just beginning." Their voices chimed in unison, a dissonance of laughter that grated against my sanity. Adrenaline coursed through my veins, and I stumbled backward, heart racing wildly. The only way out was still ahead, deeper into the darkness. With courage gathered, I took a step, then another, pushing past the fear clawing at me. What awaited me around the next bend? A truth hidden far too long? Or a nightmare I couldn't wake from? With a deep breath, I rounded the corner, bracing myself for whatever lay in wait, when suddenly I was met by a chilling sight. At the end of the corridor stood a mirror, its surface stirring like water. A reflection flickered in and out of view, a vision of two children, eyes glinting with the same unearthly glow, smiling wide yet hollow. "Come play with us," they echoed softly, their voices blending into an eerie lullaby. My blood ran cold. What was this place, and what had become of the children trapped here and their games? The truth felt closer than ever. But could I bear to uncover it? I took a step towards the mirror, curiosity battling terror. Just then, I noticed something move behind me. Was I really alone after all? The shifting light from the mirror seemed to pull me in, the children's laughter echoing in my ears, a chorus of chilling delight. I stepped closer, entranced, my heart beat loud enough to drown out the whispers. The glass rippled again, revealing a fleeting glimpse of the children playing jumping rope, their faces radiant with joy. But that was mere illusion. A shadow lurked just beyond the frame, features obscured, spine-chilling. "Come play with us," they sang again, their voices sweet yet insistent. Unease coiled in my stomach, the playful image shifting to something darker, a glimpse of their faces twisted in agony, hands outstretched, sorrowful eyes pleading as they were yanked back by a force unseen. That I stumbled back, grasping at my chest, breath quickening. Had I seen what I thought I had? Tears filled my eyes, blurring the reflection. I blinked, trying to shake the horror from my mind. "This isn't real," I murmured. "It can't be real." But the corridor seemed to echo my doubt, walls shifting as if the very building breathed, hungry and alive. I turned to flee, but the moment my back met the chill of the wall, a shiver shot through my spine. The piercing laughter transformed into a cacophony of cries, real and desperate. "Help us!" Their voices twisted into sheer panic, growing louder, reverberating off the walls like an unresolved symphony. I hesitated, torn between fleeing and feeling the weight of their anguish. Could I really abandon them to whatever fate held them captive? My heart raced as I recalled the warmth of the plush toy, a glimmer of hope or another trap. The silence around me thickened, something dark swirled in the edges of my vision. Just then, I caught movement in the dimness beyond the mirror. A figure, blurred and ethereal, loomed at the end of the corridor. It was tall and thin, with limbs that twisted unnaturally. A dark silhouette, wearing a smile too wide, as if painted on. My instincts screamed to run. I stepped back, the air heavy with despair. I could almost taste it, the bitter tang of fear. Then, in a burst of adrenaline, I dashed towards the wooden doors at the far end, fingers scrambling for the handle. The sound of puffed breaths and whispers intensified behind me, calling my name, pleading. "Join us." My hand fumbled against the brass knob. It wouldn't budge. Despair washed over me, drowning out my resolve. I threw my weight against the door, a futile attempt, but it would not yield. Panic clawed at my throat as I felt the shadows grow thicker, dark fingers curling around my limbs, tugging me back. "Don't leave, please." The voices became a symphonic chant, weaving through my thoughts, each word laden with a history I was unwilling to uncover. With every ounce of strength, I pushed against the door, my body recoiling as if striking against a brick wall. The whispers crescendoed, mocking and insistent. "Come play forever." I squeezed my eyes shut, taking a breath to steady my racing heart. What choice did I have? I had to face whatever lay beyond the threshold of unknowing. As I opened my eyes, determination flooded over me, wiping the fear into the background. The corridor remained dark, but I would not be a pawn in their game. I summoned my resolve again, wrapping my fingers tight around the doorknob with renewed strength. And just then, the corridor erupted in blinding light. "Help!" The voice shifted, more frantic, changing again into a familiar sound that chilled me to the bone. It was calling from behind me. That I felt the presence shift, felt it lurking just out of sight. What had I unleashed? The door still held, but what awaited me if I turned back? Amidst the laughter, amidst the horror, a question formed the very essence of my being at stake. Would I confront the truth or succumb to their whispers forever? And then, just beneath the calls of the children, I heard something else, a low, rumbling growl, deeper and more menacing, creeping closer. What was truly waiting for me, lurking in the shadows? The blinding light faded as fast as it had come, leaving me in a fragile darkness that wrapped around me like a shroud. My heart thundered in my chest, reverberating against the walls that seemed to pulse with ominous energy. The laughter was gone. Now, a deep silence strangled the air, broken only by the creeping growl that tugged at the edges of my sanity. I turned slowly, my body taut with fear. The mirror at my back gleamed eerily, an unsettling portal to whatever horrors were lurking just beyond. What awaited me when I pressed against the unknown? Somehow, the thought of confronting whatever remained out there felt far less horrifying than the despair of the children's cries. "Stay with us." The voice was closer now, distinctly feminine, threading through the darkness like a spectral breeze. "You can help us." It reached into the hollows of my mind, tempting me with promises I couldn't begin to understand. My breath hitched as I hesitated, torn between the instinct to run and a feral curiosity that clawed at me. What had I been hiding from? Was it the fear of the unknown, or the guilt of knowing I could do something but chose not to? I gripped the doorknob harder, determination flooding my senses. "Help us," the voice whispered, softer now, genuine in its agony. It cracked through the shadows, and in that moment, I could almost feel warmth wrapping around me like a distant hug. How could I ignore that? The growl pulsed again, more insistent this time. It echoed like a beast waking from slumber, its hunger unfurling in the silence around me. My instincts screamed at me to escape, but I couldn't. I wouldn't leave them behind. With one last surge of resolve, I flung the door open. The air turned electric, zapping at my skin. I stepped inside, the threshold vibrating underfoot. The soft carpet shifted as if pulling me deeper into a foyer bathed in flickering candlelight. The walls danced with shadows, swirling shapes teasingly close yet never revealing themselves. I knew the children were here. I could feel them, an invisible fabric binding us through shared anguish. "Come, play." The voices crescendoed again, this time rising into a chorus that blended joy and despair into something almost beautiful. Their laughter echoed, weaving through the space like ribbons, drawing me further inside. Suddenly, the door behind me slammed shut. The force shook the house to its core, metallic clanging resonating within the walls. Panic gripped my heart. I spun around, but it wouldn't budge. I was trapped, ensnared in this darkly enchanting space, and the heavy shadow loomed larger than before, inching closer with each thunderous pulse. "Oh God, no," I gasped, back pressed against the door. My eyes darted around, searching for an escape. The golden light flickered, illuminating shapes in fleeting bursts. I caught sight of them, faces lost in the throes of joy and terror, their lips stretched in wide smiles, yet eyes filled with something grotesque. They danced, the spectral children twisting and whirling beyond reach. Each flash revealed more details. Twigs like fingers, patches of dirt clinging to their clothes like remnants of a forgotten past, and then shadows behind them, dark, glistening figures edging closer to the circle of light. "What do you want from me?" I shouted, but the words spiraled into nothingness, swallowed by the thick, humming tension. "Join us." The shadowy figures shrieked together, their voices rising to a fever pitch, raising the hairs on my arms. The music of their plea screamed through me, dragging out a visceral force I could no longer fight. The atmosphere thickened with dread as the chilling growl resonated, now a formidable roar behind me. Dread coiled in my stomach, turning to a steel knot I couldn't shake. It was closer than ever. I had crossed a line, a point of no return, and I was clear now. Whatever awaited me in this haunted spectacle demanded a choice. The children? Or the shadows? In the stillness, amidst the whispered promises of joy and the threatening growl pulsating at my back, I realized I was about to uncover a truth worse than I had imagined. What dark choices lay ahead, hidden within the bright laughter and the lurking menace? The air thickened as my pulse quickened. The laughter of the children swirled around me, mixing with the sinister growl that now vibrated through the very foundation of the house. I felt the shadows close in, pooling around my feet like a living entity, grasping at me with invisible fingers. "Join us!" they cried again, the longing in their voices turning my insides to ice. My gaze darted to the faces of the children, their smiles wide but their eyes hollow. Beyond the mirth lay a depth of darkness I could hardly comprehend. I shuddered, the urge to retreat battling fiercely with my need to understand their plight. "Why would you want me?" I called out, my voice a fragile wisp in the overwhelming chaos. "What can I do?" A moment of eerie stillness enveloped the room, tossing everything into sharp contrast. The play of candlelight on the children's faces became hauntingly clear, and one girl stepped forward. She was no more than 6, dirt smudged across her cheeks, her once bright dress tattered and soaked with memories. "Because we need a friend," she said softly, her voice uncharacteristically solemn. "The shadows they take. They take everything." Before I could process her words, the growl behind me escalated, vibrating through the walls, making every inch of me quake with dread. I turned back toward the door, pressing my hands against the heavy wood, desperate to push my way through. But the door remained solid, unyielding, refusing to grant me escape. "Leave! You must leave!" I shouted, almost as if my pleas could slice through the dark aura surrounding me. But the children were undeterred, their laughter morphing into a sorrowful melody, enchanting yet terrifying. "Stay with us," they chimed, the harmony melding into a pulsating rhythm. My heart raced as the shadows flickered ominously, visibly coiling around the children, blending them into the dark. I froze, caught in the riptide of their plight yet repulsed by the clawing shadow that beckoned me from behind. Each beat of my heart seemed to echo the terrible choice that lay ahead. In an explosion of movement, one of the shadowy figures lunged forward, its form indeterminate but its malevolence palpable. I stumbled backward, falling against the cold, hard floor, my fight-or-flight instincts kicking into high gear. A scream bubbled in my throat, but it lodged there, choked by fear. The child from before pressed closer, her face radiating a sense of both innocence and haunting wisdom. "If you don't help us, they will take you too. We just want to be free." With every word, the shadows shifted, encroaching further as their growls grew louder, merging into a cacophony that felt like it could tear the very fabric of reality apart. I had to choose, and I had to choose fast, flee from the rising menace or risk losing everything to the grasping darkness. I want to help," I finally blurted, an uncertain declaration in a maelstrom of turmoil. "What do I do?" The children fell silent, their faces lighting up, hope shimmering in their once dull eyes. The figure behind me hesitated for a fleeting moment, as if waiting for my decision, and in that fraction of time, dread rippled through me. With a decisive nod from the girl, I understood it wasn't just a choice. It was a pact sealed in shadow and light, a tie binding me to their fate. As the shadows shifted, whispering secrets in a language I couldn't comprehend, it dawned on me that I was caught at a crossroads, teetering on the edge of the abyss, and now, the whispers of the children became louder, persistent, beckoning me to the center of their spectral dance where I would confront the hunger of the shadows. Was this what I had entered for? To save angels trapped in nightmarish chains, or was I stepping into my own doom? Uncertainty gnawed at my resolve as the flicker of crimson light ignited at the base of the staircase leading deeper into darkness. My heart thundered one last time, pounding against the walls of my chest, and, with bated breath, I descended into the unknown. What awaited me in that resounding gloom, and would I truly find the power to face the shadows and save the children, or would I become one with the darkness that threatened to consume us all? The staircase spiraled down, each step taking me deeper into the bowels of the old resort, each creak echoing like a whisper from the shadows. I felt it again, those eyes watching. I pressed forward, listening to the quiet murmurs that beckoned me down, urging me to take a chance. The walls seemed alive, their surface rippling with dark energy as though they were a living entity. "Help us!" The words danced through the air like smoke, lacing around my heart, squeezing. I couldn't let fear dictate my steps any longer. Each footfall pounded against the wooden stairs, resonating like a drumbeat, a battle cry against the encroaching darkness. At last, I reached the bottom, emerging into a dimly lit chamber. Candles flickered along the edges, casting long shadows that flickered like anxious spirits. In the center stood a large, old oak table, covered with toys and remnants of long-lost joy. The same doll with glassy eyes from earlier lay atop the pile, its sightless gaze trained on me, stirring memories of laughter, mirth, and sorrow. And there they were, the children, their eyes reflecting hope and desperation. They clustered together, forming a barrier against a slowly advancing dark cloud, each pulse of movement an echo of their fear. Their little hands were clutched tightly around each other, trembling with what lay ahead. "Will you help us?" the girl from before asked again, her voice soft yet filled with urgency. I nodded fiercely, feeling determination sparking in the pit of my stomach. "What do I need to do?" She tugged at my sleeve, guiding me closer to the center of the room. "The shadows take us when we're alone," she whispered, "but together, we can fight back. We need to unite our strength." I felt their warmth wrapping around me, the glow of innocence sealing a pact. I could feel my heartbeat syncing with theirs, melding our fears into one intense pulse. Just like that, I realized, fighting the shadows was about more than bravery, it was about joining forces and igniting a light that can chase them away. A gentle hum filled the room, rising like a tide, a melody of laughter from the children merging into song. The shadows recoiled slightly, as if stung. Energy flowed in the air, a palpable force coiling and tightening as their voices rose higher. "Find our happiness," they chanted, a chorus echoing together, filling the hollow pit of the chamber with spirit. As they sang, pooling warmth enveloped us, radiating from our collective strength. The shadows shivered, twisting like a violent storm, but did not advance. Their ravenous growls turned frantic, lost amidst the harmony we unleashed. "We're not afraid," I shouted above the noise, feeling newfound courage surge through me. "You won't take us." The darkness roared, a piercing sound of anguish and rage, a last desperate attempt to extinguish our light. But I felt the children rally beside me, their resolve unwavering, weaving strands of light bright enough to pierce through the thickening gloom. In a final surge, the children joined hands, and I felt a warmth radiate through us, growing hotter, shimmering with light. Shadows writhed, desperately clawing at our unity, but the energy only expanded. I could see it then, a flickering doorway etched in radiant light. "Together!" shouted the girl. "Now!" As if motioned by some unseen force, we dashed toward the light, hand in hand. The shadows screamed, their long, dark forms shriveling under our united front. As we leaped into the illumination, a blinding flash enveloped us. The world spun, a chaotic blur of sound and sensation. And then, stillness. I opened my eyes, sunlight spilling warmly over me. I found myself outside the ruins of the Summerhaven resort, warm grass beneath my hands, a lonesome breeze rustling through the trees. I leapt up, heart hammering in my chest, scanning my surroundings. The scratches of fear were gone, instead, an echoing calm enveloped the air. The children were gone, but I felt them still freed from their bondage, their laughter lingering in the wind. Tears of joy mixed with the sunlight. I had faced the dark, fought the shadows with their collective strength, and now I emerged on the other side. With one last look at the old resort, I turned away, the weight of that night lifting off my shoulders, knowing the horrors had been faced, and triumph had been born. Freedom was theirs now. As I walked away, a sense of purpose filled me. Stories would still echo within those walls, but now they were tales of hope, resilience, and courage. This wasn't just an end, it was a new beginning, with countless other stories to uncover. But before anything else, something stirred deep within me, calling out to everyone who dared to listen, "You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support and grab your front row seat for the next spine-chilling adventure. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and make these stories come alive." Flood the comments section with your thoughts. What did you think of the ending? Did you feel the struggle? And for the friends who need to hear this tale, don't wait even one more second to share this video with them. They deserve to be part of this journey, just like you.